Well, thank you very much. So we are the last 5 guys standing between this pretty cool program, I think, and the final drinks. But I think it's an interesting panel, at least from my perspective, as we are trying to bridge here the between the traditional businesses and what we perceive as modern hype as of today. That's why I'm really happy to have Marcel here from Frankstahl, which is a typical steel wholesaler, as well as Marius from Deutsche Bahn. But allow me maybe to start with you two guys. Maybe Marcel, what made you start, looking into innovative type of technologies, especially into AI, whilst looking into a business that is pretty well, perceived at least as conservative and slow moving?
Well, I didn't want to be perceived as conservative and slow moving. And I feel like you call it like the traditional businesses, and I look around here and sometimes we have those little talks at parties and you say, what do you do? And like AI, artificial intelligence, everything is so sexy. And then I say, I'm from the steel business, and people like want to kick me out of the party. So it says like traditional businesses. I think traditional businesses are pretty sexy. And the world still need traditional businesses, especially the steel business. Without steel, there wouldn't be cities, there wouldn't be cars, there wouldn't be bridges. But yes, it's true, the steel business has been in a sincere crisis, especially in the last 10 years. And basically we looked at ourselves, we were somehow squeezed in the middle between the steel mills and the end customer. And whenever the steel mills would raise prices, we would make a lot of money. And whenever steel mills would reduce prices, we would lose a lot of money. And to be honest, I didn't like that role, to be in the middle there and totally dependent. So we tried to look at solutions. We tried to look at our customers more closely. We realized that we have hell lots of data. And we started to use this data, and we started to look at all the little details. And we then sought for help, because we found out that we cannot analyze this data by ourselves anymore. Today we have actually a startup in our traditional business. We have our own 25 developers that are basically only dealing with software and data and analysis. And we have built our own ERP system. We have built our own pricing software, which is great because it optimizes prices, and it gave us a huge advantage, especially in profit margin. And we are doing a project now with a world-famous company that you might have heard of. It's called Search Inc. And I thank you so much for that, because I think this cooperation will be great. And let me give you a hug for that. We have that also. Thank you, Search Inc.
Well, thank you very much. Well, moving from steel, we are again in steel in the one way or the other, so Deutsche Bahn. So why does Deutsche Bahn invest energy into innovation, and what does it want to achieve?
Yeah, I think you do have to explain why Deutsche Bahn is on a panel where it's about artificial intelligence, when it's a company who just recently rolled out the cutting-edge technology Wi-Fi, right? So we as Deutsche Bahn, we understand ourselves in that we have to face the digital transformation of our company in basically 2 ways. So one is definitely that we have to take a look into our core business, and that we have to see, okay, how can Deutsche Bahn digitize their core business when it comes to riding trains, when it comes to selling tickets, when it comes to maintaining the infrastructure. And we've been doing this for already like 2.5 years at just right around the corner here, where we work together with the startups trying to get their innovative approaches into our core businesses. And but this is only the one perspective that we see. And the other one that we see is that we have to do or face the digital transformation of our core business by building up the new digital core business right besides the core business, right besides running trains. And therefore we created last year a company which is called DB Digital Ventures, which is not only a company, but it's a CVC-equipped company. So we allocated over 100 million euros in there to invest in startups, to invest in ventures that should be the next core business of digital core business of Deutsche Bahn. And in order to fill this portfolio of this venture capital fund, we created, and this is what we're responsible for here, is Beyond 1435 is a program, is an open innovation platform where we work together with startups and source them globally, and we try to invest in them by the end of the day, who could be applying AI, for example, or any other technology. It's not like based on any technology, but it's more likely based on how the technology is applicable to any mode, which is either improving us or disrupting us. But when it's disrupting us, we should be invested in it beforehand. So this is basically what we're doing.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much. So maybe then there's a big bridge now to you, Tobias.
Yep.
Talking about Zalando, and whilst reading your profile, it was funny, and I'm a little bit provocative. I do apologize. So you're using AI, to better understand your customer. I mean, we've heard exactly the same, and David Roldan just specifically spelled it out. A couple of years ago, we said we'll use big data to understand our customers. Isn't it getting a little bit boring? And what do you still want to learn?
Okay, good question. So maybe first of all, so it was not my idea to call this whole hype AI. So I personally think we don't do AI at all. So we're really far away from general AI, etc.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, so when I say we, I mean humankind right now. I think we're doing machine learning or pattern recognition or so. So actually we are really far away from understanding something like intelligence or so. But to come back maybe to Zalando, which is of course to more interest to you. So at Zalando, so what do we do at Zalando? So basically, first of all, by the way, so Zalando is one of the biggest spots in Berlin for machine learning and data science. So there's about 80 data scientists working for Zalando. But not only in Berlin, but also in Dublin. But anyway, so what I personally do to answer your provocative question, so I use deep learning, which I heard is AI. So I use recurrent neural networks basically to process data that we have to make prediction with all sorts, for instance, for recommendation systems, or also in the ad tech realm or so. So now this is really, let's say Zalando is really adapting these new advances in machine learning a lot. So we also have a deep learning lab here, or research lab in Berlin. So I'm not working there. I'm more in an applied production system. But there's like 15 people, so 15 PhDs in machine learning who are working on all sorts of deep learning areas or machine learning things related to fashion, of course. And you can do a lot with fashion. So it's, of course, there's a lot of image processing, but then also all sorts of other problems like fashion trends, general trends, sales predictions, fraud detection, logistics, and so on and so forth. So there's plenty of use cases for this.
Cool. Well, talking about fraud detection, I think that's the right keyword for you, Eamon. Can you briefly explain what you're doing with your company and how you apply AI? And what I would be really interested in is as well, looking into the fact that your customers start using AI, is there anything that's changing on your side as well?
Yeah, sure. So we use machine learning to do ID verification. So if a company wants to onboard a new employee or a customer, they'll ask them to hold up their passport or ID card to their smartphone camera, take a selfie, and then we use computer vision to be able to analyze that document, verify whether it's fraudulent or genuine, and then match the face to the face on the document to verify that it is indeed the person who should be opening that account or signing up for that job. So in our case, it's very much a hyper-specific computer vision challenge, detecting fraudulent images, tampered documents, and then doing face matching. So kind of in contrast to you, where you've got a wide range of different problems you're trying to tackle with machine learning, we've got something very specific. But in terms of the impact, like coming back to the panel on the business world, I'm so pleased to hear you guys talk about big corporates wanting to adopt AI, because we sell to big enterprises, we sell to banks who want to be able to onboard customers faster. In the past, these banks are regulated to verify the person who's opening an account with them. It's basically like anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism type stuff. But what I meant in the past, for all of you guys, consumers, you have to go into the bank branch, you have to take in your document with you have to have a basically non-expert bank clerk look at your documents and try and verify whether it's genuine or not, which just is not good customer experience, it's expensive for the bank, and just generally is kind of very suboptimal. And so talking of big corporates wanting to adopt AI, the banks that we are now working with we were talking about this last night, they're actually very forward-thinking, and people talk about banks being super slow and that kind of thing, but actually these guys have this vision of having anyone anywhere in the world being able to open a bank account within 10 seconds, and with our technology they can do that. So you just download their online banking app, you take a picture of your document, take a selfie, and you're in. and that is like truly revolutionary in terms of access, financial inclusion, all of these problems which previously banks faced. And of course for the banks it's just a much better customer experience and so much cheaper to onboard users. So we are seeing these big heavyweight institutions, enterprises really wanting to adopt the AI kind of approach that we have, which allows them to onboard users much more quickly.
So I mean, you're using the AI approach, but what about their customers? If they adopt AI approaches as well, is there any implication on your side as well?
Well, the thing about machine learning is that it's all about the data, right? And so the more documents we see from different countries and the more faces that we see that we can match the documents, the better the technology gets and the more accurate it can get. And so that's why banks are so keen, or any customers of ours are so keen to work with someone like us who works with so many different customers. Because if, let's say, a bank wanted to build this in-house and build in their own internal fraud detection capabilities, they only have their own data to learn from. Whereas with us, when we see fraud in Bank A, and we recognize that, then the machine learns and we can spot that much earlier in Bank B when a similar fraudulent technique is used. And so that kind of pooling of data across customers geographically, we have customers in over 100 countries. We've processed millions of documents and millions of faces. And so that kind of scale of data benefits everyone in the system. So it's a typical network effect, which means that these customers really want to work with aggregators like us.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, in the one way or the other, you're all working on the technical leading edge type of situations. So what for you guys are the biggest challenges in these situations, and how do you overcome those? Any answer?
I think talent is always one. Naturally, these guys are highly specialized. We have PhDs in image processing, machine learning, computer vision, all of these kind of specialized areas. So that's kind of the first problem, is finding those people. And the second problem is they have the right skills, but actually they've probably spent the last 10 years in academia. So then applying those highly technical skills to like a business problem and actually solving something and building a product is the next challenge. So trying to build a team and build a culture and kind of a workflow which allows them to, do the cool experimentation stuff that they love doing and playing around with new technologies, but also fundamentally having a timeline and a project plan and kind of a deadline for building a product to kind of productionize that whole thing is the big challenge really for us. And so hiring is tough, but actually getting those people once they're in to build stuff is actually even tougher, I'd say.
Yeah, I think you can actually really draw a line then when it comes to the challenges and this in between us. Because for us, it's not like the talent, but it's more likely on how to get the technology, on how to get anything that we do there into the business. Because it's like our business is like, we have a very, very old heritage there, and we are not a digital company yet. So we need to transform our company, and we are working with people there, so we need to convince the people that what we're doing there is actually not going to be a threat for them, and they should like try to work together with this. And therefore, for us, the challenge is like to get the needle through the hole, basically, there at the right, to talk to the right people, to find the right person to identify within the core business to work with that. And therefore, we need those vehicles that we just set up, because you can't just like let the core business of Deutsche Bahn Fernverkehr AG work together with with a cutting edge technology startup, because they just don't know how to communicate with.
So it's a lot to do with culture.
It's culture, processes, legal. It's a variety of stuff that you can that you have to take care about, and this is why we pulled off this new company, which is right besides the core business, where we have different rules on how we can work together with startups.
Okay, cool.
So maybe an important thing there is that AI is not a goal by itself. So I completely share your view. So the point is that when we speak about AI, it's basically just a technology, and we can use it forever what we want. So AI is a goal by itself for research or for humankind in general, of course, but not in industry. Yeah. And so the goal is always the product, that you deliver some value which solves some problems which you couldn't solve before, or you solve problems much better. And that's basically that's the thinking that you also need. So you really need to understand where can AI or machine learning, where can it actually help, and where can you build new products. And this really then also touches the whole culture of a company. So it's not only the guys that are actually devising all the methods. Yeah. So it's not only the data scientists or machine learning engineers, but it's also mainly the product guys and managers and everyone. because everyone has to really have this mindset of what a data-driven product is. And that's actually a huge task.
So what is about the culture Trunkstall?
I would want to strengthen that. I think the biggest challenge is fear. We just learned a few hours ago that around 47% of the population will be without job in 25 years. I can feel that at Frankstall. We are using machine learning systems to do things better and faster, and people from the traditional business are simply afraid to lose their jobs. So we try to tackle that, and we call it digital with heart, digital mit Herz, so that we are still like somehow close to the, you can still reach us by phone, you can still be in touch with us over the web, but it's somehow, if I'm very honest to myself, I also believe that some of those people will lose their jobs. Okay. So I feel the fear, and I'm sure a lot of companies face the same problem. So there needs, and how can you, that's a real challenge.
So how is Frankstall going to look like in 25 years?
That's a good question. I do not even know what young children's jobs will look like in 25 years. I don't know exactly how the medicine will look like in 25 years. I don't know how we're going to live in 25 years. So if you ask me the same questions, but tell me how it's going to look like in 5 years, I would be able to answer that, I think. But in 25 years, I'm afraid I can't answer that.
Okay. Yeah, but this is actually a very tough question for corporates, just like we are, because we really don't know what's it going to be in 10 to 15 to 20 years. I don't know if we're still selling tickets for trains. I don't know what the transport mode will be. Drones or beaming, or I don't know. Exactly. Or do people even need to travel anymore? So what if if video conferencing is getting to such another level that really business people don't need to travel anymore, then Deutsche Bahn would have a major problem.
But if you look at Tobias, I mean, there's a high probability that he will probably not have a job anymore, but we will still need steel. I mean,
I'm not sure about that. No? There are lots of studies. If I talk to steel mills are afraid that they won't be, 30% of steel production goes into car industry. Now, the car industry faces the same challenges as my dear friend here. Are people using the Deutsche Bahn in the near future? Are people using cars in the near future? So you are tackling questions. Let's ask our friend from Google here. He most probably knows the best. We just do not know what the hell is going on, because things just change so rapidly and so fast. And that makes us, even though we are successful for today, we don't know how to live tomorrow.
Okay.
Just a comment on my employment prospects. So I didn't go into this mining industry also because I think actually data scientist is one of the safest jobs there is. So I think this really.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. We're hiring at Zalando, of course. No, but seriously. I think this is some basic. So there's some overestimation or overexpectation what AI is supposed to solve. So what we do now, what we have nowadays, is not general AI. So it's no such thing as a entity which solves new problems or can define problems or can understand how to generalize or to come up with new business ideas, etc., etc. It's just a really sophisticated pattern recognition tool which can also predict the new areas and can go through vast amount of data and can find patterns we cannot find as human beings. But basically setting the whole stuff around, this is, we are really far away from this on a scientific level. So basically, for instance, data scientists or also product managers, so they define actually what we want to do with this technique. So they will not be replaced by the technique itself.
Maybe to just finish quickly up on that, that I think, so when you ask me, okay, what can a corporate, just like we are, do to innovate, we can just be open, we can just be ready that we can work together with other startups, that we can actually get the right funnel for innovation into the corporate. This is what a corporate can do. A corporate cannot go into a small little chamber and think about what's it going to be in 10 to 15 years. It has to be open to the new collaborative world, I think. So this is very important, and this is why we are setting up platforms and not only innovation programs or labs anymore. So we focus really on working together with the external world.
Yeah, I think these AI labs are definitely going to get more and more common. You had the rise of tech and the internet and all the startups doing all the cool stuff, and then within 5 or 10 years, every single corporate seems to have their own venture fund to invest in tech, right? And it's just I can't think of a corporate that doesn't have one right now. And the same way, like I think now all the startups are starting to use AI and machine learning to do cool stuff.
So what is it that is giving you the positive thrill about the whole development here? I mean, I find this type of discussions always very interesting because very often they come into this type of ethical type of discussion, which I don't want today. But what is the positive kick about this whole development opportunity?
I think, like for me, so I operate in an industry where we have the existing way of doing it with humans, either in person or kind of video conferencing to kind of verify if you're genuine or fraudulent, and then you have our way of doing it using tech. And you know, there's been a common argument in the kind of machine learning space for a long time, or AI is like who's better at spotting fraudulent or fraud, or who's better at doing face matching, humans or tech. It's been ongoing for 20 years basically, and we're now at the point where tech is inconclusively better than humans at doing face matching. Like expert humans 98.5%, tech 99% plus. And when you're at the point where it's inconclusive and you have objective evidence and you can run trials to prove that it's better, then you have solved a business problem. And that's what excites me.
Okay.
And there are areas like you talked about the pattern recognition stuff where there is no way that a human could possibly do that task the same way as a machine to the same degree of quality. And that's when you have to start getting excited about AI, not like the kind of floaty promises of human level intelligence to, you know, do whatever, like cook a meal, but like actual business problems that are now done by machines better than technology. Means lower cost, means better accuracy, better customer experience.
So what's giving you the kick?
To change the traditional world. I think it's so much fun because, I mean, there's so much startups and so much innovations, so you start from a certain level. So to do that in a company that has grown for the last decades, and transformation gives me the kick. To really take the old one into the new one and be the leading one in your industry and just try to disrupt. Disrupting is fun.
And I have to say, I mean, whilst visiting Frank Stahl's office, you have the feeling that you're in a startup environment, which is really interesting when you go to a steel wholesaler. Any kick for you guys?
Yeah, I think actually the kick is mainly to be able to do stuff that couldn't be done beforehand.
So it's the research.
Yeah, of course. And even we always have to find nice spaces where you can live this passion also. Yeah, but overall it's something I think it's what's always thrilling is to be able to solve problems which couldn't be solved before. And in industry you see it quite directly whether you solve something better than others or not.
Cool.
Yeah, and for me, it's basically, I mean, if you take a poll out of the audience here and ask about their experience with the Deutsche Bahn AG, you might get probably not the best picture. And changing that,
come on,
that would be that is what actually is driving me and is kicking me.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. And then I head over to Sophie for the closing words.
You can stay here.
Thank you.
I think we all deserve a drink now. It was an amazing day for me. I feel so honored that all these amazing speakers came and spent their time. So thank you a lot for being here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for contributing. Thanks for sharing your kicks and desires around AI and also fears. We had the same worries during the Industrial Revolution and when it came to the implementation of the computers. And rather than destroying jobs, what we heard so often today, automation redefined them. And I think here is a chance in the redefinition of the world and the work we do today. I'm positive about the future, but I would still say we should think about safety nets, and we should also think about ways to adapt our educational systems to the world that will need totally new jobs, like chatbot writers or operators for autonomous cars and so on. I think we should think about how we can adapt. And this industrial revolution will be way faster than every previous one, that's a fact. But it's also a fact that we humans have a remarkable ability to radically adapt. And that's why we as Searching can't wait for a future based on AI. And now I think we all can't wait for closing this with a good drink and chat and share further thoughts about this topic. Thank you.